This is when he did this party trick that is like a huge part of the legend. Google it, listen, I ain't lying. So apparently, his dick was so big that they took a fucking wagon wheel and put it on his dick and spun the shit. Like it's very much giving Wheel of Fortune, but on a dick. Caution. This podcast contains adult language, sexual themes, and depictions of violence that some may find triggering. This podcast and its hosts are not responsible for the accuracy of the material presented, as it is strictly based on our own limited research and personal opinions. Alright guys, today's show is about the very first emperor of China, aka one of the most powerful men in history, Qin Shi Huang. Now, Qin Shi Huang was an icon, he was a legend, he was the moment, and he was said to be responsible for the deaths of over 1.5 million people during his ascent to domination. He's also responsible for doing what seemed to be the impossible at the time, which was unifying the scattered warring states that culminate what we now call China. Today we're talking about his drama and scandalous origin story and how his mom's side dick almost destroyed an entire kingdom and reshaped the existence of the China we know today. Alright guys, thank you for tuning in. I know you're probably like, wait, what are we talking about? Is this really true crime? Bitch, yes it is, because true crime knows no time, it has no age. We're going to be talking about Qin Shi Huang. So, born in 259 BC, Qin Shi Huang's birth name was actually Ying Chen. Now, Ying Zhen is how we're going to be referring to him throughout this story because that was his name for most of the story. Because actually, Qin Shi Huang is a title and it means first Qing emperor. So, just so you understand where we're coming from, Ying Zhen, Qin Shi Huang, same person, but we're going to be talking about Ying Zhen. All right. So, during his time as emperor, he did some like truly iconic shit outside of just conquering and unifying the 7 warring states. He also laid the foundation for the legendary, the iconic Great Wall of China, period poo. His reign was considered to be one of the most violent and bloody eras in Chinese history. There's even a fucked up story about him capturing 10,000 prisoners from a nearby state in Zhao during their war. And rather than take care of the prisoners, like take prisoners of war, which is what was the norm, Ying Zhen was like, fuck this shit and the clique y'all claim, and executed all 10,000 of them. So, Ying Zhen's impact in China has lasted over 2,000 years. But, of course, every quote-unquote villain has an origin story, and that's where we're starting today. So, to talk about today's true crime scandal, we need a little bit of historical context. So, we're going back to 262 BC, when what is referred to as ancient China was simply made up of 7 separate warring states. Now, they were scattered states that would someday come together to form what we now know to be China. Of the 7, the Qin and the Zhao were the 2 most powerful. And I forgot to add my disclaimer. My bad. I am not Chinese. I looked up pronunciations for these words. I apologize for fucking them up because I know it's not perfect and I might be far off, but I promise you I did some research. So, anyways, back to these 7 states. And there's 2 that are the most powerful, the Qin and the Zhao. So, to tell you Ying Zhen's origin story correctly, we got to start with his parents. So his father, named Yiden, was a young prince from the state of Qin who had been traded to the state of Zhao as a political hostage. So back in the day, the states would trade their princes as collateral whenever they made like an alliance. So Yidin was the middle child of like 20 sons. So his dad was just like, I'm good, like send him off. So he was low-key kind of sent off to be this political hostage and be forgotten about, basically. Well, he probably would have been forgotten about had it not been for this strategic merchant named Lubuwei, who noticed Yidin and like met him and was like, yo, like this kid has potential to be something great. And this will also give me like a leg in to like get into, being able to have some type of political power because we have Lubaway, who's a merchant. Merchants weren't really looked at as like the best people back then. So he had these aspirations of, I'm going to be powerful and I'm going to gain political power. I'm going to gain influence, but I'm going to use this political hostage, this prince. I'm going to use him to get what I'm looking for. So he knew that the king of Jin was old. And the king's crowned prince who was coming next, who was Yidin's dad, didn't have any legitimate heirs because his wife was infertile and all of his 20 kids, including Yidin, came from his concubines. So he had like side chick babies. So there was no true legitimate heir to the throne after Yidin's dad would die. So Lubaway's like, okay, I can like finesse this shit. Let me find out a way to get close to this discarded prince Yidin, and I'm gonna make a deal with him. So he, gets close to Yidin and he's like, listen, if I can figure out a way to get you in line to be the heir to the throne after your father, will you make me your advisor and like take me on the come up with you? And Yidin is like, bitch, like, bet, yes, fuck yeah, for sure. So Lubaway uses his swag, his finesse, and his riches because he is, a merchant. He's got merchant money. And he uses that to persuade Yidin's father's wife, the lady who couldn't have any kids, to adopt Yidin legally as her own child. Now, this was something that could be done. You could adopt one of your husband's side kids. You could do it, but it just never really happened. So Lubaway's like, listen, girl, like if you adopt him as your own child, there won't be any dispute about him taking the throne. And since he'll be your son, legally, technically, once you adopt him, this will be so much better for you because you don't have to worry about one of the concubines' kids getting the throne and then, throwing you out. This will be a kid that you will have legally adopted. He's going to take care of you because you're going to be his mom on paper. He'll be the first child that you technically had with your husband. So he'll be third in line. Bitch, it's going to work. So after much persuading, she's like, bitch, where the fuck do I sign up? So here we are. Lubaway is like all the way in his bag. Like his plan worked. He's so excited. So Lubaway links up with Yidin. It's like, bruh, guess what? I got great news. I saved a lot of money by switching to Geico. And he's like, no, just kidding. You got adopted by your father's wife and you're in line to be the king. You're third in line, girl. Congratulations. So obviously Yidin is like geeked and he's excited, and Lubaway, they hit the club or whatever because they're going to go out and like celebrate. So they're at the club. And Lubaway is like throwing singles, making it rain. And then he's trying to like flex, right? So he's talking to Yidin. He's like, yo, Yidin, like meet my main concubine, Blanche. Now, sidebar, I only call her Blanche because throughout history, her actual name was never documented. Okay, so please just roll with me here. So Yidin meets Blanche. This is Blanche. Blanche meet Yidin like she's my baddest concubine. And Yidin is like, I demand you to give her to me. Slubaway felt away. He felt a type of way, but then he was like, you know what? I need to stay on this kid's good side now that he's going to be king one day. So he gives Blanche, his concubine, to Yidin. Now, Blanche is like a dancer for money. Do what she want you to do in my Tina Turner voice. And she is a native of the state that they're in, Zhao. So she is a native girl in Zhao. That is obviously where Yidin is being held as a captive, a political captive. That's where Lubaway is planning all his shit from. Okay, just so we're following. So when Blanche and Yidin decided to get married, everybody was side-eyeing them like, damn, bitch, like you're supposed to be repping Zhao, but you just got married to the Prince of Qin. So shit gets even more complex when they find out that she's pregnant. Now, legend has it that the baby was Lubaway's, because like I said, that was Lubaway's, like that was his girl. But like that's neither here nor there. So she's pregnant, and everyone's like, this is wild. And she has the baby, and they named the baby Yingzhen. So here we are back to the soon-to-be legend and protagonist of the story. This is when he's born. This is the story of his parents. Okay. So politically at this time, well, they have this baby. There's a lot of shit that's going down as Qin, the state of Qin, is trying to establish power during the ongoing wars between the states. And this is when they lay siege on Zhao. So they're like, fuck this shit, we're taking over Zhao. Now, this makes shit really complex as fuck for Yidin and Blanche because they're there with their baby, Yingzhen, and the siege is fucked up. It lasts 3 fucking years. There's like this mass famine, and people start turning to cannibalism and start eating each other and trading babies and like to eat and like eating babies. Like shit is just, I can't. So of course the people in Zhao are pissed. Whenever they look at Eden, they're like, "Bitch, like this is your fucking family. This is your fucking people doing this shit." So they're trying to kill him. So people were like trying to kill him. They were pissed because they're like, "Your state and your family are fucking ruining our lives." So Lubawei is like, "Nah, fuck this shit. I need to secure my bag and protect my asset." So he bribes the state's gatekeepers to let him and Yiden flee. Now what's fucked up is they left Blanche and baby Yingjin to live with her family in the middle of all this shit in Zhao, while they went back to Chen and were fucking bitches and concubines and not having to curve cannibals. They left Sis and her baby just to figure it out. Well, 9 fucking years goes by, and 9 years later, when Yiden's grandpa dies, Yiden's dad finally takes the throne. So once this happens, they send for Blanche and baby Yingjin, who is now 9 years old. After this bitch has been struggling on the struggle bus for 9 years as a single mom in Zhao, they finally send for her. So once this happens, this makes Yiden's dad the king, which means Yiden is the next prince in line. Blanche now is the princess, so she's next to be queen, and baby Yingjin is the third in line to be king. So, this is when shit gets even shadier. 9 days after his coronation, Granddaddy suddenly drops dead, which makes Yiden the king and Blanche the queen, like 9 days after the coronation. And of course, this means good old Lubawei is now the prime minister because, Yiden's like, I told you, I got you, I got you. So mission is accomplished. Everybody's got their come up. Everything's looking good until mysteriously, 3 years later, King Yiden dies suddenly, leaving a 30-something Queen Blanche, she's a widow, and made a 13-year-old baby Yingzhen the new king. So, now we're up to speed. Now we have Yingzhen as the new king. He's 13 years old. So, this is honestly an ideal situation for Lubawei, if you think about it. He is now a prime minister to a 13-year-old, which means he's basically running the state and is instantly the most powerful man in Jin. His ex sneaky link, Queen Blanche, she's single again and she's horny. So without the oversight of an adult king, he and Blanche immediately go back to fucking like they used to back in the day when she was his concubine. They start fucking again. So things are looking great for him. However, he starts to get really paranoid and he's just like, if I get caught fucking the king's mom, like this is not gonna look good. This is gonna be a big issue. So he hits her with like it's not you, it's me, sis, and he tries to break things off. And Queen Blanche is like, nah, fuck that shit. I'm gonna get dick or die trying. So she tells him, she's like, if you don't want to sneak into my palace and bang me out anymore, then like I'm gonna need you to find somebody who will. Period. So behind the back of our, preteen king, Yingzhen, his mother, Blanche, and the Prime Minister, Lubawei, start holding these auditions. They're trying to find Blanche a new side dick. So he's out recruiting. So Lubawei is like discreetly trying to vet a good dick replacement for himself. And he puts his ears to the streets and he hears about a dude named Lao Ai, who apparently has a huge dick. And like everybody's talking about it. It's all over Twitter, I guess. So he brings Lao Ai to meet the queen, Blanche, and he has him do like a little dance thing. And I'm just imagining that mystical song, been so long, heat's been on, so please show me. I am just picturing that while Lao Ai is literally slinging his dick around. And apparently, this is when he did this party trick that is like a huge part of the legend. Google it, listen, I ain't lying. So apparently, his dick was so big that they took a fucking wagon wheel and put it on his dick and spun the shit. Like it's very much giving Wheel of Fortune, but on a dick. So the queen is like, praise whoever the fuck she believes in. Praise him or her or them. Fuck yes. She ain't grabbed no shoes or nothing, Jesus. She ran for her life and was like, I'm all in. Book him. You're hired. When can you start? So that's when Lubawei and Blanche, they're like, okay, we got to be smart about this if we're going to bring in, some dick for you. She didn't want just a quick secret lover. She wanted a companion and someone that she could have some autonomy with, like how they saw each other. Like they didn't have to all be so secretive. She wanted to spend time with someone. So they say, all right, well, I have an idea. Let's pretend he's your eunuch. Now, a eunuch is a castrated civil servant. So if you remember in Game of Thrones, shady ass Lord Varys, he was a eunuch, and on that show they do make reference to the fact that he'd been castrated as well. But anyways, to do this, Lubawei frames Lao Ai for a fake crime and sentences him to become a eunuch. So what they do is they get him like laser hair removal, shave his head or whatever, and fake a castration for him, and then send him off to live with, the queen as her castrated humble servant. Meanwhile, it's like Dick City in there, which I mean, good for them. I'm happy for you, but also it's a lot because the young king, he has no idea what's happening. So everything was like all good in the hood until Mama Blanche gets pregnant by her fake eunuch boo, Lao Ai, wagon wheel dick. So basically, what she does, damage control. I mean, she didn't even need a publicist. She was good on her own. She talks to her son, her preteen son, who is the king, Ying Zhen, and she's like, the palace is giving me like bad energy. It's fucking up my vibe. I want to move to the countryside. I want to live in one of these old palaces we have in like an old capital of the state. So of course her son is a damn child. So he's like, okay, mom, cool. Like do whatever. It's your birthday. Get crazy. I don't care. So Blanche moves out there and has her first secret baby with Lao Ai, Wagon Wheel Dick. And then she gets pregnant again and has a second secret child with Lao Ai. So they're out there raising these two secret sons on her, wherever it is that she lives in another part of the state, far away. So the years go on. And her son kind of, starts to suspect that something is going on between his mom and Lao Ai, because their relationship is really starting to change. But back then, widowed queens were allowed to take lovers, so he doesn't look too much into it. He kind of turns a blind eye and it's like, I literally am like 14, 15, 13, 14, 15, 16, running a goddamn state. Like, I have bigger fish to fry than what dick my mom's getting. So we're going to fast forward to King Yang Zhen is approaching 22 years old, which is around the time when they would throw this big party and like coronation, super sweet 16, but 22. And so around the time that they're planning this big, party, two things are happening. First, Lao Ai has gotten just way too comfortable, and Queen Blanche has given him the power to make political decisions on her behalf. He suddenly has influence, people are kissing his ass, and he quickly rises to the same social ranks as Lubawei. So, as time goes on, Lao Ai's ambition started to make everyone a little weary. And this is when King Yingzhen, even in his youth, is wise enough to be like, something ain't right in the Kool-Aid. So he starts to get suspicious. So Yingzhen actually commanded that some of his mother's like trusted eunuchs and servants, out at the other palace, give him the tea on all the shit that's going on in that house. And he finds out that his mother has two sons with Lao Ai. So King Yingzhen is like, okay, bet. So he starts setting up extra security for himself, and especially for this impending coronation party, because he's like, I just got a feeling like shit's gonna pop off. Well, his intuition was actually right, because Lao Ai had put together this elaborate plan with the help of Blanche, fucking King Yingzhen's mother, to bomb rush this motherfucking party and assassinate Yingzhen and have their two sons, who are technically of royal blood, take over the throne. Like, Lao Ai is like, I'm tired of living in the shadows. He's like, fuck y'all, the clique you claim, and all this shit. I'm gonna make my sons they're gonna be the next king. I don't have time for this shit. Like, let's fuck this shit up, and we have to do it quick. Because he knew that as King Yingzhen gets older, it's gonna be harder for him to do this. As he gets older, he gets wiser, and he has a full scope of what's going on. So, Lao Ai, Wagon Wheel Dick, uses Blanche's official seal to mobilize an army of district forces to storm the king's palace during the party weekend when everyone's guards would be kind of down. Well, the palace security was run by Lubawei, so he got a tip that Lao Ai and his crew were on the way to fuck shit up. So Lubawei runs up to, King Yingzhen and is like, oh my god, like, they're on their way. Wagon Wheel Dick is coming here to fuck shit up. I just found out. And then Yingzhen is like, bitch, tell me something I don't know already. So he had his armies set a trap for Lao Ai. And Lao Ai's they literally walk right into the trap. So this bloody battle ensued at the capital. And ultimately, King Yingzhen won, obviously. And this is when This is when Ying Jin fucking snaps and officially enters his villain era. It's very much like after Kanye and Kim Kardashian pissed off Taylor Swift and she was in her, like, whatever bad blood era, the snake era. Like, he is very much in his Taylor Swift snake era. It's very much giving, look what you made me do. Look what you made me do. It's very that. So the first thing he does is he has Lao Ai tied up to 5 horses and they ripped him apart by his limbs. And I'm wondering if the 5th horse wasn't for that donkey dick he had. I'm getting the vibe. Next, he decides he's gonna kill his mother, but then he ultimately decides to like put her on house arrest indefinitely. Like he's like, bitch, you're just gonna go on house arrest forever because I can't. Like I don't wanna kill my mom. He then eliminates the threat, which we already know. The threat is posed by the 2 children, half brothers he has, the 2 secret children. So he has them brutally fucking murdered. And then he has every member of Lao Ai's family killed. Can you imagine like getting killed because your big dicked cousin is out there starting shit? Like you get killed. Like you hear like your third cousin, your third cousin with a big dick is out there starting so much shit that like you end up getting killed. I would be so pissed. I would find Lao Ai in the afterlife and beat his ass. So, anyways, after King Yingzhen has popped the fuck off on everyone, he turns his attention to his trusted advisor slash father figure slash maybe father, Lu Wei. And he talks to him and he's basically like, fuck you too. You probably knew about this shit. And Lu Wei honestly actually really didn't. However, Yingzhen is like, bitch, if it weren't for you, my mom would have never met Wagon Wheel Dick in the first place, and none of this shit would have happened. So he strips Luba Wei of his position and exiles him to this area of the state where he's like a feudal lord. And then time goes on, and you would think that, Ying Zhen is starting to heal. No. A year goes by, and King Ying Zhen probably hears some like Jasmine Sullivan song on the radio or Summer Walker, and he gets triggered again. And he writes Luba Wei, and he's just like, you know what, skirt, actually, fuck you, and fuck the fact that you get to be lord over like 10,000 families, and like I still let you keep a job, like the fuck. So he strips him of that too, and he exiles him and his family out of the region. And this is when Luba Wei is just like, nope, not dealing with this hoe constantly coming to take revenge on me, and he's depressed and he's stressed because like I've fallen so far from grace. So this is when Luba Wei kills himself by poison. So it's fucked up. So at this point, we have King Yingzhen, who is like, fuck y'all, I can't trust anyone. And this is when, like every villain origin story, he goes off the deep end, it becomes ruthless, and decides to fuck shit up and take over the world. By the age of 38, in 221 BC, he had conquered all of the other warring states and had unified all of China, subsequently ascending the throne as China's first emperor. He worked to enact major economic and political reforms aimed at the standardization of the diverse practices of early Chinese states. This included standardizing road widths, standardizing languages, a metric system, etc. He is traditionally said to have banned and burned many books and executed many scholars. His public projects included the incorporation of diverse state walls into a single Great Wall of China. He also implemented a massive new national road system, as well as a city-sized mausoleum where he was buried, which is guarded by a life-sized terracotta army. Now, he ruled until his death in 210 BC during a tour of, his land. So, before he died, he had like 20 kids, but there is no written record of the names of any of their mothers, which is just wild. But it also shows you that he definitely introverted hard after all the drama with his mom and had fucking huge trust issues. He also became obsessed with the idea of dying and was like super freaked out about dying. And he had this extreme paranoia about the souls of all the people he like fucking murked were gonna come back for revenge in the spirit world. So that's why he had an army of 6-foot tall terracotta soldiers buried with him to like protect him going into the afterlife. So the massive figures were discovered in 1974 by an archaeologist, and the figures vary in height according to their roles. So the tallest were the generals, there were warriors, chariots, horses. As of 2007, they made some estimates, and they said that there were at least 3 pits containing the terracotta army that held over 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots, with 520 horses and 150 cavalry horses. He was actually only 49 when he died, and while the official cause of death is unknown, it was later allegedly discovered that he died from mercury poisoning. And the ironic part is that he drank mercury in an attempt to become immortal, which is very much giving the people who drank bleach to cure COVID. But I digress. Either way, Qin Shi Huang's life was wild, and there are a lot of feelings about him out there for people, feelings that vary. That's not my ministry. I am just here to deliver the tea. Again, I want to apologize for butchering these Chinese names and these words. For the sources I used to build this story, you can check it out in the show notes. I want to thank you guys all for listening, and I hope you were able to follow along. I know this story had a lot going on and a lot of moving pieces, but I just felt like it was worth sharing. True crime knows no time or era. There will always be scandals and true crimes and shit going on. So we have a lot more stories to share. I want to thank you for tuning in today. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at bitchicantpod. Also, be sure to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. And we're on Spotify. And on Spotify, there's actually a feature where you can answer questions that I ask on there. And while you're listening, which is pretty, why I say pretty, which is pretty cool. And I'll read those answers on the show once I get people to use it. But thank you for tuning in. And guys, have a good day. I will talk to you soon. Bye.